The House will come to order. Today's Pledge of Allegiance is by Braden Breka, Mason Breka from Mammoth Heights Elementary in Parker, Colorado.
Representatives Arndt. Arndt.
Excuse.
Becker J. Becker K. Beckman. Benavides. Bridges. Buck. Buckner. Carver. Catlin. Catlin. Representative Arndt is present.
Excused.
Coleman. Covarrubias. Representative Catlin is present. Danielson. Escar. Everett. Everett.
Excused.
Exum. Foote. Garnett. Janal. Gray. Hamner. Hanson. Herod. Hooten. Hooten.
Excused.
Do you want to do your
Humphrey.
seconds today? Do your Okay. Okay.
Humphrey.
Representative Humphrey is excused.
Jackson. Kennedy. Kraft Tharp. Kraft Tharp.
Excused.
Landgraf. Lawrence. Lebsock. Lee. Leonard. Lewis.
Excuse.
Liston. Montine. Lundeen. McKean. McLaughlin. Melton. Michelson Janae. Neville. Pabon. Pedersen. Representative Kraft Tharp is present. Pedersen.
Excuse.
Rankin. Ransom. Ryer. Roberts. Rosenthal. Sane. Representative Sane.
Excuse.
Salazar. Sandridge. Sandridge.
Excuse.
Sias. Singer. Thurlow. Valdez. Van Winkle. Weissman. Willett. Williams. Wilson.
Excuse.
Representative Wilson is present. Winter.
Excuse.
Wist. Representative Sandridge is present. Young. Madam Speaker.
Present.
Representative Pedersen is present. Representative Sane is present. Representative Catlin is present.
Does that mean she gave hers away?
One here today? 65.
With 61 present and 4 excused, we do have a quorum. Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I move that the reading of the journal on Tuesday, February the 13th, 2018 be dispensed with and approved by the Chief Clerk.
Members, you have heard the motion. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed or anybody listening, if you are against, say no. That motion passes though. Announcements and introductions. Any announcements or introductions? Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we are having the Animal Welfare Caucus tomorrow from 12 to 1:15 in room 107. And this month, we're going to have presentations on by a number of Colorado's animal welfare groups. I hope you will come and attend. Lunch will be available outside of the meeting room in 107. Again, Claw Caucus is tomorrow from 12 to 1:15 in room 107. Hope to see you there.
Representative McKean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, folks, this is the last day you have to see a flashing button on my lapel. But happy Valentine's Day. I love all of you. Can we get some attention, Madam Speaker?
Oh, I don't know.
I know, right? I mean, I'm looking out there, and there's no love coming
All right,
back.
let's get attention from Representative McKean. Just 1 second. Representative McKean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is the culmination in Loveland of months of preparation, Cupid shooting arrows all over the place. I love you all. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Further announcements or introductions. Representative Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And on that note, happy Valentine's Day. I delivered a rose to everybody's desk. I hope that you all feel loved today.
Further announcements or introductions. Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Happy Valentine's Day to you as well.
In the interest of fairness and balance and equity, across the hall from the Claw Caucus will be the Sportsman's Caucus. And on the one side of the hall, you can look out for animal welfare. On the other side, you can eat those animals. So we will have hot dogs downstairs, room 112, and we'll be discussing the fee bill, the CPW fee bill, which some of you should be interested in. That's over in the Senate. So we welcome you to the Sportsman's Caucus right across the hall in room 112.
Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Co-Chair. Yeah, and you know that fee bill is going to come over, so get ready. You might want to come and learn all about it. Just passed out a Senate Finance 5-0 last night, so come and learn about it. Thanks.
Further announcements or introductions. Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Happy Valentine's Day, Madam Speaker.
Happy Valentine's Day, Representative Pabon.
Madam Speaker, I have some special guests here today that I'd like to recognize. They are elected officials from my district. In fact, they're from the student council at Academia Anna Marie Sandoval, sitting here in the back. And they're part of, so please stand and let's welcome these elected officials to the chamber. These students are part of the Save the Children Action Network, which has been engaging families, students, and voters in Colorado to be a voice for kids and to work with lawmakers to prioritize investment in quality early childhood education across the state. This Valentine's season, SCAN engaged hundreds of parents, university students, and elementary school children in sending messages to state and federal lawmakers about the importance of investing in kids and the power of early education. So these student council representatives and their teachers from Academia Anna Marie Sandoval, which is a dual language Montessori elementary school located in Northwest Denver, have created and delivered Valentine's cards to each of you on your desk this morning. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for your time and attention on this very special day, St. Valentine's Day. And again, thanks for your members for welcoming them to the chamber.
Welcome to the Capitol, Representative Michelson Janae. And hold on 1 second, Michelson Janae. Representative Michelson Janae. Members, it's very loud in here. We have lots of announcements and introductions. Representative Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I also have a special guest from Free Horizon Montessori. Ella Valier, standing behind Representative Singer, is a 7th grader who decided to spend her 2-day internship with us here at the legislature. And when I asked her why, she wanted to see the representatives at work. So here we are. Let's show her how we work, and welcome to the Colorado House of Representatives, Ella.
All right, further announcements or introductions. Representative Escar and Representative McLaughlin.
Oh, thank you.
Representative Buck, Representative Lundeen, Representative Hansen, Representative Roberts, Representative Carver, Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we have the House, Madam Speaker, I'm sorry. May we have the House Transportation Committee up in front, please? Am I missing anyone? Okay. You can start. Members, we wanted to take a moment today to recognize a Colorado Department of Transportation employee, Nolan Olson. He was recently struck while working on U.S. Highway 160 in Pagosa Springs, and he actually passed from his injuries yesterday.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, he was in the hospital for 9 days after he was struck. He has been an equipment operator with CDOT for 14 years. Here's a quote from one of his coworkers. Nolan possessed a wealth of knowledge about CDOT, was a true role model to his coworkers, and was diligent in his work. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for Nolan Olson of Pagosa Springs, please. Thank you. Please keep the Olson family in your heart. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, members. Further announcements or introductions? Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I ask to be excused tomorrow, the 15th of February. It has been approved by the Majority Leader. Thank you.
And that is excusable. Representative Lundin.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. So members, we're joined today by Todd Kirkendall and some students from the New Opportunity Program. If you folks want to stand up, these are students who are choosing to bounce back. If they're having a challenge at school, maybe an expulsion from school, they're choosing to engage in this program, and they're going to fight their way through to a better tomorrow as individuals, which makes us better as a state. Please acknowledge the great kids from the New Opportunity Program. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions? Any further announcements or introductions? Seeing none, that takes us to third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1051.
House Bill 1051 by Representative Salmon and Carver, Senators Quorum and Merrifield concerning statutory provisions enacted to promote the extinguishing of unintended fires.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1051 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1051 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Benavides, Representative Coleman, Representative Garnett, Representative Janal, Representative Rankin, and Representative Ryer. Please vote. Please close the machine. With 60 yes votes, 1 no vote, and 4 excused, House Bill 1051 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 30.
Senate Bill 30 by Senators Holbert and Kagan, also Representatives Foot and Willie concerning non-subsidy relocation laws related to self-provide fields from Title 12 Colorado Revised Statutes, part of the originating codification of Title 12.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 30 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 30 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Humphrey. Please close the machine. With 59 yes votes, 2 no votes, and 4 excused, Senate Bill 30 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 32.
Senate Bill 32 by Senators Gardner and Cook, House Representatives Foot and Harris, concerning the non-substantive relocation laws from Title 12 Colorado Revised Statutes, part of the organizational recodification of Title 12.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 32 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 32 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Hamner, please close the machine. With 59 yes votes, 2 no votes, and 4 excused, Senate Bill 32 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 34.
Senate Bill 34 by Senators Cook and Guzman, House Representatives Weston Lee, concerning the non-substantive relocation laws related to regulation of game from Title 12 Colorado Revised Statutes to Title 44 as part of the organizational recodification of Title 12.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 34 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 34 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 56 yes votes, 5 no votes, and 4 excused, Senate Bill 34 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 35.
Senate Bill 35 by Senators Gardner and Cook, House Representatives West, concerning the non-substantive relocation laws related to gambling, payment, and intercept from Title 24 Colorado Revised Statutes to new Title 44 as part of the organizational recodification of Title 12.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 35 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 35 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 59 yes votes, 2 no votes, and 4 excused, Senate Bill 35 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1137.
House Bill 1137 by Representative McKeon, also known as Enzinger, concerning the scheduled repeal of reports of the General Assembly in connection with continuing the requirements for reports by the Department of Transportation and the Department of Public Safety.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1137 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of House Bill 1137 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 60 yes votes and 1 no vote, House Bill 1137 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1140.
House Bill 1144 by Representative McKeon, also Senator Moreno, concerning public official personnel surety bonds in connection with repealing obsolete provisions and authorizing the purchase of insurance in lieu of public official personnel surety bonds.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1140 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of House Bill 1140 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 61 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 4 excused, House Bill 1140 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1107.
House Bill 1107 by Representative Weissman, also Senator Perillo, concerning a requirement that builders and new residents offer buyers the option to accommodate electric vehicle charging systems.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1107 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of House Bill 1107 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 34 yes votes, 28 no votes, and 3 excused, House Bill 1107 is passed. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors. Last chance, co-sponsors. Please close the machine. That brings us to general orders, second reading of bills. Representative Gray. All right, members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Gray will take the chair.
Wait, am I on? Okay. The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for a reading of bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon the motion of the majority leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1012.
House Bill 1012 by Representatives Baker, Jay, and Lanteen, House Senators Lundberg and Aguilar, concerning vision care plans for eye care services.
Go ahead. Representative Lanteen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 181012 and the committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Health Insurance and Environment Committee added 2 amendments. We defined usual and customary amount. We included plan networks, and we removed the ban on restrictions on choice or sources, suppliers, and optical labs. I ask for an aye vote.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for the sponsor, since I wasn't in committee. My understanding is the bill's going to require the vision carriers to not require the discount for non-covered services. But was there any change to the bill in committee to then allow the vision carriers to actually inform the consumer whether or not the discounts are offered by the actual vision provider, so that the consumer can actually have the knowledge of whether or not those discounts are offered?
Representative Becker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the bill, the way that came out of committee, does not allow for opt-in or opt-out of discounts on side of this policy. And that, members, is actually more transparency for this, because then your local provider can take care of that. Your local eye doctor knows the needs of your community, can offer the discounts that you need inside of that community as they see fit. It's not being dictated down by your insurance company for uncovered materials and services.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So under the bill, the vision providers can't tell their consumers who actually offers the discounted services. Is that correct? They can't. There's a prohibition on actually telling the consumers who offers the discounts and who doesn't.
Representative Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The insurance providers can tell you the same thing of who's in network and who's not, and who is a covered doc for them. As for the discounts, no, we are not allowing the insurance companies to dictate who can provide or what they can say for discounts on uncovered services and materials.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The committee report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Lanteen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, House Bill 1012 does a couple things. It works to address the inherent fairness to these take-it-or-leave-it contracts forced on optometrists by prohibiting a vision care plan to require that providers, 1, provide services or materials to a covered person at fees set by or subject to the approval of the carrier or entity unless certain conditions are met, and to prohibit charging a covered person for non-covered services or non-covered materials in any amount less than the usual and customary amount for a non-covered service or material that is less than the usual and customary amount that the eye care provider charges for persons who do not have a vision care plan.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We heard this bill in committee, and while there were a lot of opinions from different people, including optometrists and including the various insurance plans that we are able to purchase or order through our insurance to make sure that we have our eyeglasses and contacts and checkups covered, what we were really doing was looking at a contract that is offered by a company to specific doctors
with the terms that they are offered. And you've heard me say it before, I feel that we should not be trying to dictate terms of contracts between private parties here in the legislature. If people want to join up with that plan, they can. If doctors want to cover under that plan, they can, and they also don't have to. One of the things that I heard during committee was create a level playing field, that we were trying to, with this bill, create a level playing field. And that was one thing I know that was a problem for me. That is absolutely not our job here. Creating a level playing field is something that people need to do on their own by offering better prices, by offering better services, by doing great checkups, not by the government coming in and saying, we're going to create a level playing field. I urge a no vote on the bill.
Representative Eskar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of our jobs here at the Capitol is to listen to our small business owners and our constituents. And I will tell you, I heard from my constituents who happen to be small business owners, the optometrists, who said the way the system works now actually paralyzes them, hurts them, harms them. So it's not about making a level playing field. It's about making sure that our small businesses have the opportunities to make sure that their businesses are operating. And I was told very specifically that this bill alone will help my optometrist make sure that she is able to serve more people and to make sure that she is able to continue doing the business that she loves in the area that she wants to continue to living in. So I urge and I support a yes vote for House Bill 1012.
Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I'm also okay with optometrists and helping those, but we also have to keep in mind that we need to protect the consumer. If you have eye care insurance and you go online and you look and you find out, okay, who's in network when you're trying to actually choose a provider, you should have the ability to find out also, while you're looking for their, not only are they covered, but if they were to offer further discounted services under your plan so that you can make an educated choice. That's what this bill lacks. This bill actually prohibits the eye care insurance from informing the consumers who offers those discounts and who doesn't. I'm all for small businesses, but small businesses should be able to compete just like every other business. And if they think that it's in their best interest to offer a discount, we should allow the vision plans to disclose that. Right now, this bill as written does not allow for that disclosure to happen.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1012? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1012. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1012 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1233.
House Bill 1233, Representatives Duran and Lawrence, concerning consumer reporting agencies placing Mr. Surety freeze on the consumer report of a consumer who is under the charge of representative at the request of the consumer's representative.
Madam Speaker Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Lawrence and Representative Ransom, do you guys want to join me down here? I move the State Affairs Committee report and House Bill 1233.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The committee report, we had an amendment in the committee to clarify that there is no fee associated when a record is created.
Is there any further discussion to the committee report on House Bill 1233? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. A resounding victory, it is passed. to the bill. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Gray, Representative Gray, Mr. Chair. Today, members, we are bringing forward House Bill 1233, and it has been a collaboration with myself, Representative Lawrence, and Representative Ransom, and I'm very thankful for both of their leaderships to be able to get to where we are right now. And this bill is really about making sure that we are protecting the data of Colorado minors. We are all aware of the dangers and consequences of identity theft. Many of us take action to monitor our credit or freeze our credit reports, but few people think about the dangers and consequences of identity theft when the victims are children. And if a child's identity is stolen, it can be years before the theft is discovered, because it can be years before a minor child applies for a credit card or a student loan. This bill gives parents the authority to freeze their credit reports of their minor children. And more than that, parents can tell a credit reporting agency to create a credit record for a child who doesn't yet have one, and then tell the credit reporting agency to freeze that credit record. We are here today to ask for your support.
Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a very important bill. We've had several members of our communities contact us because when the Equifax data breach happened a few years ago, or last summer in fact, they did call and try to freeze their kids' credit histories and found out that Colorado is one of the few states that doesn't allow that. And this will apply to not only minors, but also the developmentally disabled community, because they are a vulnerable community within our state. And we need to make sure that no one is stealing their identities, no one is ruining their credit history, and we are protecting those who have the least ability to do so for themselves. So I would ask for your support on this bill.
Sorry, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Gray, Mr. Chair. And there are several amendments to the bill that we would like to have added. I want to start with, I move L009.
L009 has been moved. I'd ask to be displayed. L009 has been moved and is partially displayed. Can we not fit the entire? Can we not fit the entire amendment on that? Amendment L009 has been moved and is for the most part displayed. We do have copies of it for the, apparently cannot fit the entire thing on the screen at once, but
Shall create.
Amendment L009 has been moved and is displayed. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. L009, we'd ask for your support. This removes a temporary and partial security freeze lift and a DDS prohibition on charging fees for placing, lifting, or removing freeze on 16 and 17-year-olds. And so this was a clarification after the committee discussion that we had. I would ask for your support.
Members, we have an amendment that I'm trying to understand up here from the chair. We have some work we're going to need to do. So if you could take side conversations off while we work through this bill, I would appreciate it. Is there any further? L009 has been moved and is displayed. Is there any further discussion on L009? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L009. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. L009 is adopted. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L011, ask that it be displayed, and ask for your support.
L011 has been moved and properly displayed. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This clarifies that a record is not automatically created as a result of an inquiry by a representative of a protected consumer. This was in response to some of the discussion that we had in the committee hearing. I would ask for your support.
Is there any further discussion of L011? Representative Leonard.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just seeing this for the first time. We heard this bill in committee, and we had some discussion, a lot of discussion, and it's centered around verbiage like what we're dealing with here on the floor on automatically created records. And just to help everyone get perspective before we take a look at some of the words in here, The issue here is, as the speaker aptly described, was the ability to allow parents or guardians, representatives, to be able to protect the records and freeze records. There was testimony by an expert that said 99% of minors do not have records. So this whole bill is for the 1%, minus other disabled folks that maybe have guardians that are not minors. So what we're dealing with here are, we'll say, parents that will inquire to see if first their child has a record, and then if not, they can either leave it alone and leave it as it is without a record, or they can choose to create a record and then have it frozen. Both of those can solve different issues. But what the original language is that this seeks to correct is that a record would be automatically created. It actually uses the word shall. A reporting agency shall create a record for the protected consumer and place a security freeze on it or not, whether or not the representative requested that. So what we're trying to solve is the issue that some parents do not want a record created or frozen. They just don't want the record. They don't want to give the vital information of their child to an agency, and they don't want that privacy exposed, even if it's frozen. Because as we heard in testimony, that one could still say that when you create a record and freeze it, you still have an electronic record that could be hacked into. So the most secure way, as we heard clearly in testimony, was not to have a record at all. So on page 5, where it says on line 2 that the agency shall create this record, that's what we're trying to deal with here. Now, this amendment doesn't remove that word shall. It doesn't even remove that line, shall create a record for the protected consumer. We spent the weekend and the last few days trying to wrestle with just taking the word shall out unless it's required in writing by the representative to create that record. The easiest way, obviously, is to remove the word shall, or to create the ability for the requester to request it in writing. If I'm reading this correctly, on line 2, after this word shall, it says that, however, a consumer reporting agency is not required to create a record unless it is in writing and then frozen. Well, the issue is not requiring the agency to do it. It's telling the agency, thou shalt not do it. So if I'm reading this right, not required means you still can. And as we know, the agencies, the asset of an agency is a record. The more records they have, the more effective they are as an agency. So they don't mind having a record frozen or unfrozen, and this allows them to do it. It creates in one sentence the requirement for them to create a record, even if it's just in an inquiry by a parent, and this says it doesn't take it away. So, members, I would offer a substitute amendment for this and ask that it be displayed.
Representative Humphrey, I'm sorry, Representative Leonard, what is the number of the amendment?
This is Amendment L012, and I would move it as a substitute amendment and ask for it to be displayed.
Representative Humphrey has, I apologize, Representative Leonard has appropriately moved L012 as a substitute amendment. Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker Pro Tem, sorry.
I got this one twice, it's fine.
Just adds a very simple solution to this rather than a very elaborate one. And what this does is, and our focus of attention on this bill is really just on page 5, line 3, which creates the word shall, which a reporting agency shall create. What we want to be able to do is that if a parent inquires if their child has a record, that the agency is only mandated to create that record if, in fact, the representative requests to do so in writing. Remember, this cannot usually be done with the phone call because you have to prove as a parent you are the parent of the child. You have to have social security numbers. You have to have a lot of vital information on the child. So it usually isn't done on the phone. It's not like hanging up and the issue's over. You have to submit, as it says earlier on page 4, you have to submit this request in writing, and the request has to be filled with all the vital information. So you're giving this to an agency, you're inquiring, and when they say, no, there is no record according to these vital documents, one may not automatically be created unless there is, in this amendment, a written request to do so by the representative. So they may not create it unless it is in writing. And that's really the gist of it here. That's why this gets to the point of not having an agency create a record unless authorized by that representative than the original amendment that was offered, because that one has a may not be required, and this needs to be firmer. So I would ask for a yes vote on this amendment in order to protect the rights of parents.
Is there any further discussion on the substitute? Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we were talking over here about potentially trying to figure out how to address this concern. I think this amendment goes too far, and it requires actually an additional step, but we're listening to Representative Leonard's concern, and I would like to ask you about potentially changing the language, not through this amendment, but I think through another amendment to the amendment that will get to your concern. So my answer would be no on this, but I do think we can address it because this is an additional step. It goes further than what I think maybe even you intended it to. But I do think that part of the argument that you made that there may be another way that we can amend the amendment.
Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure what, I appreciate the Speaker's willingness to discuss this. I'm not sure what that amendment would be. This one is simple. This one is a very simple, as long as the word shall is going to stay in here, then we just need to be able to say, yes, it shall be created if the representative, in fact, in writing, says it should be. I want everybody to refresh their memory. In this 15-page bill, it's only about freezing records. This is the only sentence that creates a record. So the entire bill is about freezing. That's what we started to talk about, freezing. However, this creates, and all I'm asking for is that it's created only if the representative, the parent, gives that consent in writing.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And nothing like drafting amendments on the fly, since we just saw this amendment from Representative Leonard. But what I would say is that I would ask, can we take a quick recess? I think that there is language that we can add to the original and underlying amendment to be able to address the concern.
The committee will stand in recess.
Thank you.
The committee will come back to order. We are presently, before us is L012, the Leonard substitute amendment. Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Given the conversations that we've had and another amendment that's coming, I hereby withdraw L012.
L012 is withdrawn at the request of the sponsor. We are back to L011, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I withdraw L011.
L011 is also withdrawn. Which brings us to the bill for the moment. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L015 and ask that it be displayed.
L015 has been moved and is properly displayed. Madam Speaker.
And this clarifies the language to address the issue that Representative Leonard brought forward, and we are all in agreement with this language.
Is there any for Representative Leonard?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, in fact, we are all in agreement with this record. This protects the right of the parents to be able to protect their children's records and only have a record created if, in fact, they give so in writing. So thank you, both Representative Lawrence and the Speaker, for working on this. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on L015? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L015. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. L015 is adopted. To the bill, Representative Lawrence.
No, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment L013.
Amendment L013 has been moved, and we would ask that it be displayed.
We have it.
Amendment L013 has been moved and it is mostly displayed. We display line 18 of L013.
There you go.
All right. Amendment L013 has been moved and for the most part displayed except for one line. Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, L013 addresses some questions that came up in committee about the definition of a representative and the proof of authority that a representative must show in requesting a security freeze for a protected person. It also includes provisions conforming notification time limits to existing statute and to other provisions of the bill and clarifies the notices that should be sent. So I would ask for an aye vote on L013.
Is there any further discussion on L013? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L013. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. L013 is adopted. To the bill. Is there any further discussion? Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is an important step. It's correcting something that Colorado is missing when it comes to protecting consumer credit history for minors and developmentally disabled. And I would ask for your support on this bill.
Representative Sane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate all the hard work that the sponsors put into this bill. It's an important bill, and I urge a yes vote.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good bill, vote yes.
Is there any further discussion? Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Representative Gray, and members. Again, I just want to thank everyone who was involved with this bill to get it to where it is, and specifically Representative Ransom and Representative Lawrence. Both of us all seem to be working on this bill for months, and then we had two different bills that were introduced, and it was really a willingness to come together to make sure we came up with the best policy possible. So thank you for your willingness to collaborate and problem solve, and really thankful we were able to accomplish this together.
Is there any further discussion of House Bill 1233? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1233. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 1233 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1158. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1158 one day to February 15th.
At the request of the Assistant Majority Leader, the bill will be laid over. Mr. Randall, please read the title up. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader Garnett again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1172 until Tuesday, February 20th.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1172 will be laid over. Mr. Assistant Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good job today. I move the committee rise and report.
Seeing no objection, the committee will indeed rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, your committee of the whole Biggs lead report has on its consideration following attached bills, being the second reading thereof makes following recommendations later on. House Bill 1012 is amended. House Bill 1233 is amended. Passed second reading on gross. Please account for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1158 laid over until February 15, 2018, retaining its place on the calendar. House Bill 1172 laid over until February 20th, 2018, retaining its place on the calendar.
Representative Gray. Members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk, thank goodness. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Covarrubias, Harrod, Humphrey, Kennedy, Crafthorpe, Liston, McKean, Michelson, Janae, Ryer, Rosenthal, Willett. Please vote on the report of the Committee of the Whole. Please close the machine. That will be $2, Representative Michael Sanjay. With 63 yes votes, 0 no votes, and 2 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. All right, that takes us to consideration of memorials. Mr. Randall, please read the title of SJM 18-003.
Senate Joint Memorial 3 by Senator Garcia, House Representatives Covarrubias and Escar, concerning memorializing Congress to approve and fund a new Veterans Administration hospital in southern Colorado.
Representative Escar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will let my co-prime come down to the well with me.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning.
I move Senate Joint Memorial 003 and ask that it be read.
Whereas the Veterans Administration, VA, healthcare system is an invaluable resource for the millions of men and women who have served their country in the United States Armed Forces and for their families. And whereas Southern Colorado has the fastest growing population of veterans in the nation, with more than 86,000 men and women in the immediate vicinity eligible for VA care. And whereas the current VA satellite facilities in the area only have the capacity to serve fewer than half of the eligible veterans who may need care. And whereas since the closure of the VA facility in Bent, Colorado in 2001, veterans in Southern Colorado and elsewhere in the region have been forced to travel to Denver or to the Fitzsimmons VA Hospital in Aurora for specialty care. And whereas when a patient eligible for VA care must travel more than 50 miles for treatment, taxpayers, in addition to the individual veterans, are responsible for travel and lodging expenses for that patient. Further, many elderly or otherwise infirm veterans have great difficulty making often frequent trips to the Denver metropolitan area to receive their health care services. And whereas many veterans eligible for VA care are mid to low income residents of the state and may be surviving check to check off of retirement, pensions, or Social Security payments. And whereas construction of a new VA hospital in an area north of Pueblo would serve the veterans of Pueblo, the home of heroes, and the birthplace of 4 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients, in addition to residents of Colorado Springs and El Paso County within its 50-mile service radius. Those men and women living as far as Castle Rock and Trinidad would be eligible to receive VA healthcare services without requiring taxpayer assistance for travel and lodging. And whereas in such a location, a new VA hospital would be positioned to serve not only Colorado veterans, but also veterans in western Kansas and Oklahoma and northern New Mexico, for whom travel to Pueblo would be closer or more convenient than travel to Albuquerque or another regional facility. And whereas a new VA hospital facility north of Pueblo would be a major economic driver and boost to rural health care in the state by drawing hundreds of doctors in residency, nurses, and other healthcare professionals to underserved areas of Colorado. And whereas these new healthcare professionals could partner with local hospitals, healthcare facilities, Pueblo Community College, and Colorado State University Pueblo to increase access to valuable medical and mental health care specialty services for the general population of the region, in addition to those veterans being served by the VA. And whereas the Veterans Health Administration Office of Rural Health works to implement targeted, solution-driven approaches to increase access to health care for the more than 3 million veterans nationally who live in rural communities, through innovation, collaboration, and partnership with VA program offices and federal, state, and local healthcare entities. And whereas in such respects, a new VA hospital in southern Colorado, north of Pueblo, would continue significantly to improvements in the quality of life and health in the state and region. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the 71st General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, that we, the members of the Colorado General Assembly, call on the congressional leadership of our state and nation to actively and aggressively pursue funding for and construction of a new Veterans Administration hospital to be located in southern Colorado near Interstate 25, north of Pueblo.
Thank you, colleagues.
Representative Covarrubias.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I've been down here for, a year, and I see how much we support our veterans in the House and in the state capitol. Building a facility south of Denver and south of Colorado Springs is almost a no-brainer because we know we have a lot of our veterans that serve in the Colorado Springs area. We just passed a bill to keep our retiring veterans in this state by not taxing their retirement fund. That tells me that what we're really trying to do is hold on to these valuable people and introduce them back into the workforce after they retire out of the military and keep them here in Colorado. A big piece of that is allowing them to have access to medical needs and to not have to make Denver their first choice. I would appreciate any support we get on this. Building this facility in the southern part of Colorado is absolutely necessary, and I support it 100%. Thank you.
Representative Esker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Covarrubias, for signing on to this joint memorial with us. I think it's important for us to realize that Southern Colorado has the fastest growing population of veterans in the nation right now. More than 86,000 men and women in this area that we're talking about are eligible for VA care, while the current VA satellite facilities in the area only have the capacity to serve fewer than half. I know many of you have probably heard stories from your constituents who depend on the VA for their health care and the frustrations they face because of the issues with the VA hospitals right now. I particularly have been moved by one of my constituents, Elisa, as she documents her phone calls with the VA system. She documents them on videos. Every time she has to have a conversation and try to seek treatment, the conversation she has to travel to Denver from Pueblo anytime she needs to go and talk with the VA. At one point, they even scheduled an MRI in Colorado Springs and an orthopedic appointment in Denver at the same time on the same day and told her she had to choose. If there was a VA hospital closer to Southern Colorado, it wouldn't only help my constituents. It would help those veterans that are living anywhere south of Denver, anywhere southeast of Pueblo even. We have a tremendous amount of veterans that depend on the VA for their health care, and all we're asking is to consider this memorial, to consider the potential funding someday to build the hospital in the southern part of the state to make sure that all of our veterans in Colorado have access to the health care they have earned and they deserve. We ask for your support on Senate Joint Memorial 18003.
Any further discussion on SJM 003? Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Esker and Representative Covarrubias, for bringing this. I recently talked to my clerk and recorder to kind of get some information just about my district. I asked them, in general, how many people we represent, and we know that about 78,000. But then he went on to say, but in your district, and the reason the vote turnout is low, you have over 20,000 veterans and military. 20,000. That's a lot of people to be served, or in this case, not served by a veterans hospital. And that's just in House District 21. We've got the rest of our county. We've got all the counties south. This is needed. We do have a lot of veteran services, but we do not have a veterans hospital. And I can tell you, people get tired of driving to Denver. They don't have the time. They don't have the resources. If they have kids, it requires a babysitter. You know how that goes. So this is a great memorial. I wish there was more than a memorial so we could force this issue, but maybe that's coming. Thank you.
Any further discussion on SJM 3? Seeing none, the question before us is a passage of SJM 003. All of those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying no. SJM 003 is passed. Co-sponsors. Mr. Randall, please open the machine. Please close the machine. All right, announcements and introductions. Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
That resolution was a good segue. Members, if I can have your attention, I do have some sad news in this vein, if I can have your attention. Jacob, if you would place that. Members, if you'd pay attention, please. Many of you were here last year when we were blessed by the presence of a distinguished World War II veteran, Lieutenant James Downing, who is here, I remember very distinctly, in the wheelchair. He was a Pearl Harbor veteran. He died yesterday at 104. And for those of us who had the real opportunity to meet and talk with Lieutenant Downing, he was a true gentleman, a true patriot, part of the greatest generation. He really wanted to share his story, which he did after Pearl Harbor with the students throughout not only Colorado but around the nation. He was covered in Time magazine. He spoke with presidents, and like I say, just a real fine gentleman. And so, if we can have a moment of silence for Lieutenant James Downing.
A moment of silence is granted.
Thank you, members. God bless James Downing. And on a positive note, members, you can be seated. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. On a positive note, I've been tied up with other duties here taking care of. I do have some good economic news that now, when I spoke to you last a few days ago, a mere 300 companies had distributed bonuses of at least $1,000 or more due to the Tax Reform Act. I'm proud to say now it's up to 350 companies that are sharing the good economic news with their workers. Most recently, Chipotle has now given bonuses of $1,000 or more. Apple Computer has done that. PepsiCo has now announced a significant bonus, as well as Lowe's. So let's give a shout out to our economy and good economic news thanks to the Tax Reform Act. Thank you.
I have an announcement as well today, members. As you know, there are many dreamers that their future is still uncertain, and I did want to let everyone know that on the first floor that you have an opportunity to take a picture to recognize the contributions of immigrants and also write a Valentine to them to thank them for all of their work to promote and support our economy. Further announcements or introductions. Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First, I wanted to add on to Representative Liston because I received a message from Black Hills Energy and then talked to their representative, and they are all looking at ways to get a refund to everybody because of the tax cut, but you have to kind of wait for that to happen. But what I really wanted to do was introduce to you our ladies in red, the Sunrise Republican Women. If you've been here a while, you know that they come up every year, and they are always very complimentary of our process and amazed. So talk to them. They're all nice people. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome to the Capitol. Representative Landgraf, that will be $1. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I have a couple important announcements. This Friday, because it's the last workplace harassment training, that training goes 8 to 10, so we will start on the floor this Friday at 10:15. So you get an hour and 15 minutes to sleep in. And next Monday, of course, is a holiday, so we will not be here. You're welcome to come and hang out, but we are not going to actually have any time on the floor. And then on Tuesday, the 20th, we will be starting at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Further announcements and introductions. Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Shape Colorado is here today for their lobby day. This week, you should have all received daily information cards on your desk about the issues important to Shape. They are a group of physical education and health teachers here in Colorado. Did you know that Colorado is one of only 4 states with no physical education requirement at all? According to research, students who participated in 20 minutes of physical ed activity a day showed an increase in test scores of 6% in 3 years. As Vice Chair of Education, this is a really important fact. So today, around the Capitol, you will see SHAPE members here in their suits and their tennis shoes. So please tell them how much you appreciate their work. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Foote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A reminder about state affairs this afternoon. We have first up House Bill 1113 by the Minority Leader, then House Bill 1128 by Representatives Wist and Bridges, followed by House Bill 1111 by Representative Everett, followed by House Bill 1138 by Representative Arndt, and then finally we have 2 bills set over for action only, no testimony but possibly amendments and then voting. One of those is House Bill 1047 by Representative Lontine, and the final one is House Bill 1063 by Representative Williams. That's this afternoon in LSBA at 1:30.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the Local Government Committee, we are not meeting in our usual room. We will be in room 271 today at 1:30, so we will see you 1:30 sharp in room 271.
Representative Martin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Ag, Livestock, and Natural Resource, we will meet upon adjournment in 271, and we're hoping that HIE will join us to listen to a nonpartisan, just the facts, ma'am, type of presentation about technologically enhanced, naturally occurring radioactive materials. So, hope to see you there.
Representative Lee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just wanted to alert you that the National Federation of the Blind representatives are going to be in the Capitol today. They weren't here until just a few minutes ago, but if you see them wandering around, go up and say hi. They're here to talk to you about the issues and challenges that they face in the community. So National Federation of the Blind is here at the Capitol. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions? I have one last one. Representative Sandridge will replace Representative Lewis on the Transportation Committee today only. Representative Herod will replace Representative Hooton on the State Affairs Committee today only. Any further announcements or introductions? Going once. Going twice. Seeing no further announcements or introductions, Madam Majority Leader Becker. Happy Valentine's Day. Would you like to make a motion?
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. I move that the House stand in recess till 1 o'clock today.
All right, seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until later today.